as Liberals are now just one seat shy of a majority government in the House of Commons after a huge political upset. Another Conservative MP, this time from Ontario, crossing the floor to join the party.
So let's give a warm welcome to our newest member of the Liberal Party.
Yeah, Michael Ma, his name. He represents the riding of Unionville, Markham, Unionville, just in the Greater Toronto area. He was at the Liberals' holiday party last night. This is what happened. Came out, big hugs by Mark Carney. But one day earlier, Michael Ma was at the Conservatives' Christmas party. There he is with Pierre Poilievre. Oh, politics, always interesting. Ma says he...
Look how wild that is, ladies and gentlemen. Look how wild that is. The night before, you had a Christmas party with Pierre Poilievre and the Conservative Party. And now, just like that, you switch over to becoming a Liberal. Boy, I'm telling you, politics is a messy game.
Entered politics to help people and not wanting to be part of anything that's divisive. He says he looks forward to working with the Prime Minister.
Wow, such a big welcome. Thank you. Thank you. All I want to say is Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and a great 2026 coming to all of you. Thank you.
All right, Sharon Carr is standing by, CTV News political analyst. She is in Toronto today. Sharon, your thoughts? What does this mean?
Well, it's always exciting when there's a floor crossing, and I know that there's a bunch of different opinions going out there, but this is actually, I would say, one step closer to a Carney majority government. I've been watching a lot of the Conservative commentary coming out of it, and people are upset. And what I'll say is that floor crossings are not unusual, but it's also a sign of how people...
You see, that's one part that I find very interesting. You say people are upset, and it's pretty crazy how you could just kind of gloss right over that, because they mentioned before his constituency was in Markham, Unionville, and he just became a member of parliament earlier this year. He won. He got 27,055 votes. 27,055 votes. He won by getting 50.7% of the votes, and they voted you in as a conservative. They voted you in as a conservative, and then you cross the floor and you become a Liberal. So I could understand why any people from any side would be upset over this, because the crazy thing is that he said he was talking to people in Markham, Unionville, and he's had a change of heart, and you saw the quote that they just gave you before. But this is wild to me, that you can have all these people vote for you and then go amongst yourself to change sides. That's wild to me that you can do that without a vote.
Within the Conservative caucus are feeling. We've been hearing for some weeks now that there were members who were unhappy with Poilievre and the direction he was going in. Has still kind of come off as a very divisive individual, and I think we just saw this happen. Whether he was at a Conservative Christmas party the day before, I don't think is anything substantial. There's never really any proper signs to a floor crossing, but listen, the Liberal tent is a big tent, and I think we're seeing that now, and I wouldn't be surprised if there was another one or two that crossed over.
What about the criticism that, this election just happened in April. He was elected by his constituents as a Conservative. He won by about 3% over the Liberal candidate at the time. And to do this is a betrayal of those voters.
I think it's fair for people to have that criticism, but we also have to remember that while people do elect governments based on a party system, the candidate also matters, right? There's a lot of candidates who sit on different spectrums of within their own party as well. And I think at the end of the day, whenever it's time for the next election, the voters can speak as to who they want to be their elected official. But whether or not it's a betrayal of the voters, I don't actually think that's the case. The member is going to have to look at what's best for all constituents, including those who didn't vote for him. So it's always a fair criticism to make against somebody when they cross the floor, but I think that's up to the voters in the next election.
Any sense as to what Michael Ma may or may not have been promised to do this?
I don't think he was promised anything, to be honest. I know.
I like that question, because I think a lot of journalists, reporters when you're on TV, I think you would be hesitant to ask that kind of a question because that is, you're look at his face in this shot here. But are you making the assumption that he was offered something to switch sides? And to me, you know, I mean, you don't necessarily want to go there, but it is a good question to ask.
Folks think that you have to be promised something to cross the floor, but I think he truly just did not like the divisive politics by Poilievre. And for him, maybe the only promise that he had was a collaborative caucus that he could work within to do what's best for his constituents. So there's never any real quid pro quo in this type of floor crossing. So I would say he's doing what's best in the best interest of all of his constituents.
You say there's no quid pro quo. So you mean people are not promised things like a cabinet position or Secretary of State of something, or maybe something else down the line?
No one has ever promised anything. I think there's always a hope that one day you can serve in a role of some sort, but you serve at the pleasure of the Prime Minister. And it's not a good, I would say, it's not good science in politics to make any promises to anyone. And that's generally not something that is done, at least not frequently that I've ever seen. So I'm sure the focus here was purely for him to cross the floor to be part of a caucus that was more inclusive and more representative of what type of member of parliament he wanted to be.
We're just going to show the numbers in terms of the seat count in the House of Commons, because it's a big part of the story. As we talked about, they're one seat shy of a majority now. They're at 171. They need one.
So this is the big picture of what everybody is looking at right here. And this is why people are so up in arms right now, because, Prime Minister Mark Carney was voted in as a minority government. And now he is one seat away from becoming a majority government. A majority government. And so people obviously in Markham, Unionville are going to be ticked off. And this is the second floor crossing we've seen now in just a few weeks. He only needs one more. And I'm telling you right now that at this point, he's going to get it. He is going to get that next floor crossing. I don't know when. Probably after they come back from break, after the holidays and that kind of stuff. But I'm pretty sure he is going to get it. We don't know who it's going to be, but the Liberal Party will become a majority government, and they will only need themselves at this point, for the most part, to be able to pass bills and get them straight sent to the Senate. That is what people are going to be up in arms about, especially now if you are Pierre Poilievre and a conservative. But think about how things have changed from just 1 year ago. From just 1 year ago, Justin Trudeau was the prime minister and things were going extremely bad. The entire country, for the most part, wanted him out. And it looked like Pierre Poilievre was going to be next up for the job to be the Prime Minister of Canada. In comes Mark Carney, who is now the Prime Minister of the country, and Pierre Poilievre's numbers looks like they're kind of dipping now. They're sliding. And so to me, he has a lot to be concerned about going into January.
72. I mean, even if another conservative or someone else were to join the Liberals again, it would be a very tight majority, but nevertheless a majority government. We know this is a great day for Mark Carney. What about Pierre Poilievre, the significance or not of this? I've been talking to people over the course of the last 2.5 hours here, some of whom say it's a big deal. Others say he's likely to stay on as party leader. This doesn't really threaten his power or position much at all.
Well, I think we have to kind of wait a few more weeks to see what else falls out of this. But it is still, I would say, significant enough because, again, it shows a divide within his caucus. We heard rumblings about it over the last several weeks. We've already seen a floor crossing happen. He's got his leadership review coming up in the new year. And I think if people are saying that the divisiveness is a problem for them and how they represent their constituents, I think this is something that him and his entire team have to take seriously. If I were advising him, I would say, listen, you want to get rid of any concern people might have around your tone, tenor, around being divisive. And you've got to be more cognizant of how that looks when someone does want to cross the floor. So again, I wouldn't be surprised if there's another couple floor crossings happening. We have heard large scale rumors across the board around people not being happy with him. So now we wait and see.
All right. And we'll get you back to talk more about it if it happens. Thanks, Sharon.
You betcha. Have a good one.
Now, I'm going to...
Liberals are now just one seat shy of a majority government in the House.
I want to show you guys this as well. This is reaction from residents in Markham, Unionville.
Markham Unionville MP has crossed the floor. Your thoughts on that?
I saw this last night on social media, on Instagram, the post, and I was shocked. I think over 27,000 people voted for Michael Ma in Unionville. I saw the Liberal Party press release last night where he said that, after hearing from Markham Unionville residents, he decided, that, it was the right thing to cross the floor. I'd like to know if he actually heard from 27,000 Unionville residents.
It's a good point.
Unionville residents, because I'm positive he didn't. And I know that there's going to be a lot of upset people in Markham, Unionville, in this particular riding. It's been a long-time conservative stronghold. I'm angry. Let the people decide, because he's decided for the people. It's the other way around. He was put in office by over 27,000 Markham Unionville residents in this riding. It's not up to him to decide to cross the floor. He made a social contract with with the voters that put him in office. He's accountable to them, and if he doesn't want to be a conservative anymore and he wants to cross, resign and let's have a by-election.
I don't think it's right.
And that's what I'm saying, because to a certain degree, what the hell does voting even matter if the member of parliament can just cross the floor like that? You understand what I'm saying? I mean, this is wild stuff. If a member of parliament can just cross the floor if they want to, then what is the point of having 27,055 people vote for you if he's going to take it amongst himself to do that? And I'm not saying that you shouldn't be able to do it, but you should at least be able to do that after another vote. I think it's just absolutely wild that you can do that without a vote.
We voted for that party, that sort of platform, and to go and switch like that, I think that's I don't think that's fair to the community and the voters that supported that. Our riding, ahead of Michael Ma coming in, had a candidate that was pressured out from bigger powers that were just larger than him. I think people know what was going on. He got pushed into another riding. I voted for Michael Ma and the Conservatives, trying to support the platform. It's been over 10 years. It's been tough. I think people are looking for change. So this whole idea that we respect his decision, it's kind of coy, and we're just too passive as Canadians. I think we got to demand more from our government. I never got invited to the community center to hear why he's doing it, what benefits him crossing the floor would bring to us.
I'm not so happy of following that developing story. I mean, it's his own choice, right? Just like everybody can have to make up his own mind if they decide to. Must be something going on behind the scene.
You think there's something behind the scenes in the Conservative Party?
Well, there must be something leading to the decision, right? Maybe he's not willing to stay where he was staying. Maybe it's a better opportunity going over another party.
So you think he has the right to make the move? It should be his choice.
I think so.
People voted for the Conservative, and then now he switched. So I guess I feel bad for the people.
I was quite surprised of his decisions, but not sure the reason why he making that abrupted this decision. But
all right, enough. The reality of the situation is this. Okay, he crossed over. He is now a member of the Liberal Party, and I will say this, and I mentioned I mentioned this before. The next member to cross over is going to be coming. They will become a majority government. I'm assuming that's going to happen sometime around January, February, I would assume. But at the same time, now that they are going to be a majority government, and I don't know that for sure. That's not set in stone. Everybody at this point is going to be able to hold Prime Minister Mark Carney to account with whatever bills that he wants to pass and the Liberal Party wants to pass, send it to the Senate. Hold him accountable. Say you had a majority government and this is what you did with it. And I'm going to keep it at that, because this story is not going to end anytime soon. This is another domino. There's going to be a massive one to fall after this. Moving on to the next story. This happened around a week ago, maybe 8-9 days ago, maybe just over a week ago. But this company, Roshel, the Roshel firm, okay, selling armored vehicles to ICE. Did you guys hear about this? I'm pretty sure I couldn't be the only one who was listening to this story. I'm going to share my screen with you talking about this one, because this one to me is a very interesting story, because people were up in arms about this one as well. So I'm going to share my screen with you and talk about this one for a second.
There have been thousands of ICE raids just like this one, and soon Canadian equipment could be used to help the agency carry them out.
There's a baby in there!
U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement has ordered 20 armored vehicles from Brampton, Ontario-based manufacturer Roshel, valued around $10 million.
The percentage of the Canadian content in our vehicle is higher than any other vehicle.
Roshel did not immediately respond to Global News' request for comment, but a procurement notice says the company was the only manufacturer able to meet the agency's technical requirements and deliver within 30 days.
ICE officers who are the toughest people you'll ever meet.
The order comes as U.S. President Donald Trump is expanding ICE operations, even though the agency is facing allegations of human rights abuses over its treatment of undocumented immigrants.
It's entirely inappropriate for a Canadian military supplier to be under contract to furnish a foreign agency that faces credible allegations of patterns of human rights abuses.
Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand would not say if she has any concerns about the contract, but did emphasize that the federal government has not yet been involved in the transaction.
Canada and the United States have a strong bilateral relationship with an open line of communication in which, if necessary, I will raise the issues with Secretary Rubio.
But this former foreign affairs minister says despite pressure for the deal to proceed, the government should intervene.
Are we prepared to stand up to Mr. Trump and the illegality of what he's doing and say that Canada still is a voice for fairness and justice and protection of people's rights?
Ottawa blocking this trade deal could upset Trump, a risk to the trade talks that have been stalled since late October, Donna. But Prime Minister Mark Carney may be hoping to convince the president to restart those negotiations on Friday, when the pair is set to meet in Washington for the FIFA World Cup draw.
All right, Jillian Piper.
So first of all, I highly doubt that this deal will be blocked. And I could understand the concerns of some people, right? And, you know, like in regards to potential complicity in human rights abuses that have been alleged. ICE has faced widespread allegations of mistreatment in detention centers, family separations, aggressive enforcement tactics, right, under Trump's administration of mass deportation. And so I can understand why a lot of Canadians would be upset that a company from Brampton is shipping out their armored vehicles out to the Immigration Customs Enforcement, which is known as ICE. But at the same time, it's going to be looked at as business as usual here. It is going to be looked at as business as usual because, it's a private company, a legitimate business and trade deal, and they're fulfilling the legal obligations of their contract. These are armored vehicles that they needed, ICE needed, with specific requirements within 30 days. And this company is able to provide that. And people are talking about, what about morals and this, that, and the other? We think we all know that when it comes to making money, morals kind of go out the window here, folks. And you can argue it from both sides. You can argue it from both sides, right? Some people can argue, that these vehicles are helping these ICE officers to stay safe because they're going up against, people who are trying to come at them in all different type of ways, even though we know ICE is the one with the power and the weapons. I'm just telling you, this can be argued in many different type of ways. There are people on the left, people on the right, and they will argue it in any way that they want. And I also know that they are not going to turn down a contract for $10 million. They are making a product, exporting that product, and damn it, they care about the money that they are getting in return. They don't care about what ICE is doing with these vehicles. And I'm not saying there's a right or wrong. I'm just telling you from that company standpoint, that's how they're looking at it. And when you have a premier, which I will put up on the screen in a second, who is telling everybody that Ontario is open for business, well then, I mean, what do you expect? What do you expect? Now, let me see if I can find that clip for you from one Premier Doug Ford.
The armored car manufacturer in Brampton provides armored cars for a lot of people. ICE, the enforcement agency in the States, has just ordered 20 cars from ICE.
That's fantastic. I've been through that plant. They make great military vehicles, and now we need the federal government to start ordering some as well off them. And maybe they are. I'm not too sure.
Don't you see it's ironic with the
I know
tariffs?
it's ironic, but that's all right. We'll take orders anywhere in the world. And thank goodness that the Americans are ordering it off us. They're a great operation there. And maybe you should go and pay it a visit and see all these great employees building armored vehicles.
There you go. There you go. And at the end of the day, and this is what I'm telling you, at the end of the day, he's looking at it as business is business. US wants to spend their money here, and this Canadian company can make $10 million off this. They're not going to be turning it down. And another thing that people are saying, yes, you know, it is ironic, but this company, Roshel, from what I've seen, also has a facility in Michigan. Now, I'm not sure this deal gets done if they don't already have a facility in Michigan. So you're giving people to jobs out there in Michigan, which I'm sure, you know, President Trump is very happy about, by the way. Without that, I don't know if this deal goes through, but at the end of the day, it will be looked at as business is business. And companies, they're looking to make money. Capitalism. They want their business to expand. They don't want to turn this down, because if they do, you are now limiting potential business in the future from the United States. And these companies aren't going to do that. They're not worried about what people are doing with these vehicles, especially the White House and ICE. These vehicles are also being sold to Ukraine in the war against Russia. And so these guys they're going in with this vehicle. They're going to do what they got to do. It's a very good armored vehicle with specific specifications, and if they can find buyers to purchase these vehicles from them, they absolutely will not turn it down. And that's just the way that it is. You can argue it any way that you want, but we know when it comes to making money, when it comes to morals, I mean, the way you want to look at it, if you want to put morals into the conversation, that's just out the window. It's a business. They sell a product. They're selling it to who they want to sell it to. And that's the end of the story. And that's how this will be looked at by a lot of people, including the Premier himself, Doug Ford. If the Prime Minister Mark Carney and the government are going to step in and have a say in this, I don't know if they will. I doubt it, but we'll see what happens. Last story, going to sports now. Last story that I want to talk about is in regards to Rich Paul. I'm going to change my screen here. Talking about, if I can, why is my computer, I'll just leave it like this. I want to talk to you about a story with Rich Paul and him having a new podcast, Game Over with Max Kellerman, who a lot of us know from being on ESPN's First Take with Stephen A. Smith for 5 years, who was very good on that show, by the way. And, there was a bit of a rift between the both of them, and Stephen A. wanted to get rid of Max Kellerman to kind of change the show up a little bit. And so now he has this podcast with super agent Rich Paul, who is the agent of LeBron James and a lot of other people, big name guys as well, in the NBA. And this was Rich Paul talking about the LA Lakers, which I think is extremely crazy. I've never seen anything like this to date. This is one of one. I haven't seen this yet. You guys can let me know what you think, but I'll discuss after on why I think this is pretty crazy with what is going on.
Include the Lakers.
Yeah, let's
in
talk
this.
about the Lakers.
But I'm just saying, we talk about Andy Reid as a winner. You want that guy in your locker room.
Because I've heard you say that about the Lakers. There's a difference between a championship organization.
Well, I would say that about a lot of teams. Just because you won a championship or several championships, that doesn't necessarily make you a championship organization. Championship organizations, put it this way, the Oklahoma City Thunder, prior to winning a championship, if you would have asked me, is this a championship organization? And I would say, yes. The only problem they have is they haven't won yet. But
Sam Presti and
well, just everything, the culture, you have to have depth in the front office. What do you mean depth in the front office? Meaning the front office is layered, right? Because you have scouting, you have advanced scouting, you have your international aspect of it, you have your pro scouting, you have your college scouting, and you're looking at it from a place of how are we building this team, right? You're managing assets, you're stockpiling draft capital and things of that nature, and you look up and it's like boom. But while doing that, you're establishing a culture, meaning it don't matter what name comes in here. You are going to do things the way
Miami
we do them.
Heat.
The Miami Heat was another one. San Antonio is another one. I think the Lakers can trend towards that way now.
Because they got the ownership?
Well, the new ownership can help in different ways. But prior to that, there was never a conversation of we're going to help you understand how to win a championship because this is a championship organization, right? Mm-hmm. I think the Lakers probably didn't give themselves enough credit of being a organization that's won all those championships to say, hey, yeah, I know we're the purple and gold, we're in LA, but we're going to establish certain things despite what your name is. Yeah, and it's good to be able to roll out the red carpet and things like that, but once you get up underneath that, there's just some things foundational that is never going to change.
So, but that makes it sound like, because obviously LeBron gets, like, the Lakers seem to present this kind of inviting culture to attract superstars, right? Look at the way we treated Kobe Bryant at the end. We paid him when he wasn't even good anymore, and we took care of our own. Hey, LeBron, you might like to play here. But you as LeBron's agent and Clutch Sports as his agent, you're saying, really, that's the way I hear that, you correct me if I'm wrong, is and I don't mean to interview you on this, but I mean, but you're saying they are catering too much to people like my client instead of insisting on doing things a certain way?
I'm saying when you are a team like the Lakers and others, I think there's several teams in the league. Sometimes when you are that attraction, right? You're in LA, you're the purple and gold, the history, the legacy, all of that. There's a couple ways you can lean. But the details within the organization is what's to be invested in to create these foundational roots that no matter what.
You mean depth in the front office and this kind of stuff they mentioned?
Not even just that. I think a number of things. You got, whether it's front office depth, whether it's development, right? Which young players, which they've done a great job at developing young players, Austin's developed, Kuz was another one, Caruso was another one. But I'm saying holistically, right? Sometimes when you're the prettiest girl in the room, you don't necessarily do the detailed things. Like you could just put your hair in a ponytail, put a white beater on, some jeans,
curse
and
of the
some heels
gifted.
and go out, right?
Yeah, curse of the
But when
gifted.
you're
If it's easier for you, you don't work as hard.
Exactly. When you're not the prettiest girl in the room, you have to do all the little details. OKC, they're going to do, because, no offense, but where would you rather live?
LA.
Exactly.
This is very interesting. He also went on to say, by the way, that the Lakers don't have what it takes. The Lakers team does not have what it takes to contend with a team like OKC, Denver. They don't have what it takes to win. And to me, this is crazy, because have any of us seen an agent go on a show and talk about his client's team? I know I have never seen that. Now, to me, doesn't this manipulate what the Lakers do? And of course, people would, give the argument, okay, how does it do that, Mike? Well, if you're going on a podcast, and for those of you who haven't seen it, you can go online and watch this. You're telling the Lakers you don't have enough to win. And so when he does that, is he saying that you should go out there, make moves, and do something to get my client, which is LeBron James, more to win another championship? Or at this point, do we have to get out of LA and go somewhere else without making it look bad? To me, that's where it kind of lies, right? Because I think at this point, especially when you bring in a guy like Luka Doncic, the Lakers want to move on without LeBron James at this point. I really believe that to be the case. How do you do it, though? How do you do it? Do you try to trade him to somewhere where he wants to go? He does have a no trade clause, so he has to agree to it. Or do you wait and lose LeBron James for nothing? And I mean, at this point, you probably have to go that route, only because it is LA. And so it's not like you're going to have any problems attracting free agents. All I'm saying is, a person like me who comes online and may talk about the Lakers and not having enough and that kind of stuff is, looked at as obviously completely fine. It's not like I have any power to manipulate anything in regards to the team front office, anything like that. But Rich Paul does. Rich Paul does. Rich Paul has the ability to speak to LeBron James and figure out, is this somewhere that you want to be? Do you want to get up out of here? He has the ability to talk to the general manager, owners, and say, my client doesn't want to be here anymore. We're going to be looking to, take our talent somewhere else. It's at the end of LeBron's career. Maybe he wants to win another ring and we don't feel like he can do it here. This is just, overall, it's just wild to me to see that an active super agent is able to go on a podcast, on his own show, and talk about his client's team. That is wild. How do you take that if you're in the front office, if you're the coach in JJ Redick, if you're the other players? I mean, we know LeBron James is LeBron James, but he is not the LeBron James of old. A part of the reason you're not able to be in championship contention at this point is largely due to LeBron James not being able to do what he was once able to do. No fault of his own. That is Father Time. But at the end of the day, it is what it is, right? That is what it is. And so this is crazy to me. And I want to see if him talking on these podcasts with Max Kellerman is going to continue the way that it is. I'm sure the show is going to continue, but is he going to be able to talk about the Lakers, not having enough pieces to be around LeBron James to compete? If he'll talk about another team, or is he going to keep it specific to business, money, being an agent, getting players, all this other business type stuff, or is he going to be talking about basketball? And if you're wondering, Mike, what am I talking about? Go watch the podcast. There's more context. There's more context to this, and you will see it for yourself when you go out and do some more research on this. Let me know your thoughts in the comments about all of these different subjects. I will try to respond to you as fast as I can as soon as I have some free time. At Mike Roach 7 on IG, at Mike Roach 23 on X. Make sure you follow, like, subscribe, and share the podcast. Thank you all for the support. The podcast is growing every day. Look out for some of the interviews that I have done. Sherman Hamilton, Nikhil Alexander-Walker from the Atlanta Hawks. You guys will enjoy that podcast very much if you have not seen it. And folks, if you have anything that you want me to discuss, make sure you put it in the comments or hit me up in an email. This is the Mike Roach Podcast. Until next time, I'm out.